Paul is absolutely against the law of Moses. That's demonstrably true. The law of works. But he's not against the overall law of God. So you stop and say, okay, what law am I as a Christian under? That's the law which is distinct from what Paul calls the works of the law, which are those Jewish particular and peculiar elements of law which were required for Jewish people. So you simply have to say what law is Paul advocating as being permanent? It cannot be the law of works, which he says is finished. So it's all of the other laws of God, the law of love, of loving your neighbor, and many other good things. That's what Paul has in mind in terms of the law.
Here also, this is very important, 1 Corinthians 9. And then note in verse 21 how now we went from the law of Moses to the law of Christ, which is now, amazingly enough, Anthony, now it's synonymous with the law of God.
That's brilliant. That text is absolutely indispensable. Paul is a Christian. Paul is a Jew. But he says in verse 20, now to Jewish people, I became like a Jew in order to win them. To those under the law, that's Jewish people under the law of Moses, I became as one under the law, though I myself am not under the law. I, Paul, am a Christian. I'm a Jew. I'm not under that law. So you have to simply say, what law am I as a Christian under? The answer is it's not those elements of the law which distinguish Israel from the rest of the nations, Sabbath keeping, holy days, physical circumcision. All of that's defunct. If you don't understand that, you're in danger of getting the wrong gospel. The gospel is defined by the teaching of Jesus and expounded further by Paul. You know, Jesus said, I can't tell you everything now. Some of it was left for Paul to develop. Paul, for instance, develops the idea that physical circumcision is quite unnecessary for anyone. But you're not going to gain any favor with God at all, period, Jew or Gentile, by being physically circumcised now. That's the stark difference between the Old and New Covenant. Finally, I'll say this in Galatians 5:2, you have that same Torah of Messiah. So Paul distinguishes, and you must in your Bible study, between the Torah of Moses, which was only until Christ came, and the Torah of Messiah, which is ongoing until the ages to come even. All the Christian eras that may lie ahead of us before the second coming.